There were 5 other girls that I lived with. They've all relapsed. There's only one other girl who has graduated and stayed sober that I'm aware of. It's hard when you see people who you were sober with and had conversations with and really grew with fall back into that. I mean, it's sad. Between John and I, there have been about 13 overdoses and deaths that have happened in the 2-year period. It really pushes me to maintain where I'm at because it is so easy to fall back into those kind of excuses. You can come up with any excuse to get high, just like you can come up with any excuse to get sober or to stay sober. So it's a big deal to be where we are.
I said, you know, I mean, I don't feel that we've had this type of relationship since you were like 8 or 9.
Right.
And I credit you a lot for that in just, again, talking, you know, walking the walk that you really want people to see. And
I hurt my mom a lot. It's got to be incredibly hard for her to have so much faith and compassion and empathy towards me, and to be working towards building a normalized relationship.
There's a lot of trust that has to be rebuilt. You know, part of my anxiety was with Sawyer because that was a huge responsibility that I took on.
I'm gonna go show Opa how tiny that little flower is.
Having you take over on that, there was a little bit of a lot of anxiety because you were in such a transition yourself, but I actually, looking back, I think it was the best time because you had to step up to the plate.
Right.
You had no choice.
Right.
There's a giraffe in there.
There's a giraffe in his ear. I think it's been great getting to know you now as opposed to harboring resentments for who you were then. Because looking at myself in the mirror and seeing who I am today, I'm definitely not the same person I was last year or the year before or, you know.
I mean, even 2 months ago.
You know, it's still very new, it's still very raw, it's still a growing relationship, and I think that that's super important. And I think to keep up with communications. I mean, I've called you more now that we live 1.5 miles away from each other than I have my entire life.
But I do make it a priority to take your call because that, I think, has really been part of the natural growth that we've had in the past couple months is because you are open to talking.
It's been putting myself in your shoes, and that's a huge part of recovery is looking at things from your victim standpoint, because I am, you know, I'm a perpetrator of a lot of hurt and a lot of pain and a lot of angst, and I you know, I'm sorry for that. I've realized that especially as our relationship has progressed. You know, I've done a lot of damage and I've done a lot of really nasty things to you, and I've said a lot of really nasty things to you. And it's, you know, that's been one of my biggest shames has been all the things that you've had to put up with. And it's not fair to you, and I really am sorry. And I love you very much.
You know, it goes back to, again, the most important person here is Sawyer.
Mm-hmm. I think it's been great for her, the way that we've been communicating. There's still little parenting things that we have to work out, and those are all quirks, and I'm still learning.
It's important for you to be the best person that you can be for her. We're all in this together, so
right.
We all have to own that.
Right.
So.
Taking the suboxone for as long as I have has had some detrimental and adverse side effects. I have a wonderful doctor that I've been dealing with. Her feeling is if I'm comfortable with coming off and I feel concrete enough in my recovery that she's comfortable with it. It's more about not wanting to rock the boat with the court system. It has helped me stay clean for longer than I have been since I was 18.
Hi, Allison. How are you?
I just want to kind of close this chapter, we'll say, on the court system and move forward.
How are you today?
Good. Normal stressors, normal life. My mom and I are really working on our relationship, and we're communicating very well. There was so much hurt and so much pain that there's a lot of bridges to rebuild, and I was very...
You were angry.
I was very angry.
You were angry. You were angry.
Grateful but angry because she was doing all the things I wanted to do with my daughter, and you know, she calls my mom. It hits that like nerve where...
Yeah, it's at the core, right? What about your relationship with your daughter?
It's really, I mean, it's great. I was so scared of doing the wrong thing or saying the wrong thing and then having her taken away. You know, I kind of sat down and thought about it, and I'm like, I can't live my life like that, because then I'm just waiting for the next bad thing to happen.
Instead of enjoying the here and
Right.
now. So I wanted to talk a little bit about the upcoming milestone. And so let's talk a little bit about that and your feelings around what's about to happen.
So I think there's a certain amount of anxiety that's coming with it on both my and my husband's part.
What have been the patterns or behaviors that have changed it within you that's going to help you throughout the recovery process once you exit out of court?
I think a lot of it is just the communication factor. You know, when my husband had his appendix out and they gave him pain medication, which is completely normal. It's a very painful thing to go through. Just watching the change in his eyes was very triggering. So I made a phone call and I talked it out, and you know, I think that that's a huge change.
Right.
I do want to come off the suboxone. I know it's a gradual thing. It's been 2 years, and like I said, I have a lot of tools, and there hasn't been that urge in the back of my head to kind of put that little devil on my shoulder.
I mean, we're still going to be seeing you.
Right.
And get that really good treatment plan going once you are completely off the suboxone, you know, once you are still, you know, doing therapy. And what is that perfect treatment plan for you, right? It's
Right.
different for everyone.
Absolutely.
And continue on this path, you know, to your wonderful life.
I'm all for it.
I know.
I'm always all for it. It's always a journey.
Yep. That's life,
But
right?
it's always fun.
That's what life is about.
Okay. So, I think you guys are ready to graduate.
Yes.
How do you guys feel about this? You ready?
Yes.
More than ready, right?
Yes, definitely. Clearly they wanted the best for me. Clearly they wanted me to change. Clearly they wanted what was best for Sawyer. And that was apparent from day one.
That's just part of the human.
They deserve a lot of credit for changing people's lives that they don't get.
I think they've proven they can provide a safe, nurturing environment for their daughter.
I don't think any person who is addicted to any substance wants to admit it.
Right?
Obviously there were things we weren't dealing with, and Judge Cohen saw it and really pushed us to be our best.
You guys, I know that Sawyer's doing well, and I know she does well in school, and she's healthy and she's happy, and she's got a lot of people who love her, and we're ready to close the case. I mean, you have the skills to work with the physician and to work with your meetings.
I just wanted to thank you. You made me accountable for my actions, and you know, you really made me see what needed to happen and what needed to change, and that there was a better future for my wife and for my daughter.
And for your daughter.
I want to thank you for that.
Right. It broke the cycle. That was very emotional, especially because they told me that they really appreciated what we did. I was very heartened to hear Allison's mother, Barbara, thank us and feel comfortable with where Allison and John are. So if you'd like to come up, I'm going to give you your certificates.
Do you want to come up with me?
Perfect.
Getting the certificate was a surreal moment. It was one of those moments where it was like, is it ever going to happen? Like, are we ever going to make it? I sold myself short. I didn't think I deserved a life like this. Graduating from family court was a huge step forward.
Give me a hug.
Thank you. For everything.
Very proud of you. Thank you.
Thank you so much for everything.
That's what these drug courts are about, you know, helping people reclaim their lives, live healthy lives, be good parents to their children.
And by the way, you guys look really good. You're like a good-looking, handsome couple here.
Now,
And you're gorgeous.
I know there's been a lot of ups and downs, but I'm glad there was a happy ending because I think it's important for the community at large to see that these are not just lost families or throwaway families or people that can never get well. They're the people in your family, the people that live next door to you, and we have to do everything we can to make sure that they have a chance.
I wish I had a pair of those.
In the great green room, there was a telephone, red balloon.
Sawyer's really getting used to being around us again, and she's looking at us as her parents and not my mom and my stepdad.
You guys want to give family hug?
Most of the bonding happens in the little moments. It's like all of a sudden she'll turn, I love you, Mommy.
Mommy, I love you.
I love you.
I love you, even tiny lip.
And it's little things like that. It melts me. It's one of those moments where this whole process and all the negatives and all the changes have been truly worth it. Being normal is what I've strived for. You know, picking my daughter up from school and cooking dinner, which I haven't done yet, but I'm working towards it. Having some semblance of normalcy and stability has been the main focus of what we've tried to do here. And I think we've really achieved it. We've got happiness, we have love, we have stability.
See the birdies? Over there.
In the grand scheme of things, 2 years of getting sober is nothing compared to a lifetime of happiness, of having my child, of having my husband, of having my family.